What?
Recording.
You know, it doesn't actually start recording until a second or two later. So we might not even hear you. But okay, here we go. Ta-da!
Good morning. I guess.
Hi. I feel like the angle. I feel like I'm putting the camera at an angle now where I just look tall, but I'm not. So maybe I angled that too far. I did angle that too far down this time. Ooh, that's ooh.
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong. Is this cool? I was looking at the where the.
I know. All right. Try not to make you all motion sick at home.
There we go.
That's a little better. A little more.
That works. Okay. We get the top row of the. Much better.
Can you tell we're still filming on my computer? I've debated. I've debated with the phone on the stand, and you know, maybe we'll do a little extra sometime to like experiment with that, and you can see if you like it before we just film a whole like hour with it. Because what if it's horrible? I don't know. And you know, I'm just drawn to, we have this dark and broody patch here. Like now that you filled the main hole here, I mean, there's still little bitties, but now that the main hole is filled, I'm just like, ooh, it's like a black hole between us. That yarn is not that dark.
No, actually, it's like the top row of the Patagonia is super bright, but on camera it looks dark and broody.
I know. And I want to make us pointing the thumbnail just so people are like, what are they pointing? We're not really pointing at anything. Anyway, hi, welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
The Dear Becky and Lizzy edition.
Oh, thanks for remembering that. So
yeah, I was like, what day is it? I'm Liz.
I haven't said who wait, there's an order to the universe, Liz. Hang on. I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in foggy again this morning, and still hasn't decided if the sun's coming out at all today, Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion there.
See, now you could say your name twice. How special is that? So we have a lot to get to, and I was trying to do some stuff on the computer. I know there's another word for it, but my language facilities are not completely back. Faculties, facilities. Exhibit A. Really quickly to get the housekeeping stuff out of the way. The new Noro Magazine is here. We already have had several purchases of it. We get 12. So if you would like it, it is here. It is on our website. Come by the shop. And there are new yarns that I'm just like, but it's the same fiber content as old Noro yarns. So why are there new varieties that we can't bring in because there's no room? So there's a new yarn that looks just like, at least fiber content wise, just like Ito. It's called Viola. And they're like 8 colors, and we don't have them. I'm just putting it out there. There's a lot of new yarns in here that if he keeps coming up with yarns, which might have the same fiber content as some of the Noros we already carry, and we do love Noro. We don't have space in the shop to be carrying. We can't be a Noro exclusive shop, because then the people who don't like Noro would be disgruntled, because people either absolutely love and adore it or kind of don't. So, you know, but it's always a lovely magazine, and we should be able to find you some equivalent of the yarn in here if you want to make something from the magazine. Long story long. We also just got in a refill of Feederbrook Farm, which is lovely and not hung up yet behind Liz, but full complement of colors, but they're going fast because we already had some people buy some this week. So look, she made space at the bottom, and we're gonna hang colors back up that we've been out of. There's like 3 or 4 colors we've been out of. I don't know. Yeah, I remember 3 specifically, but I don't know if the new batch looks anything like the old batch, because there's always like, you know, hints of the same colors, and then it's vibrantly like Christmas different, like, ooh, package, what, you know, every time we get it in. So I have not rephotographed anything yet. Who knows if I will be just busy enough or have time to rephotograph today. So call the shop if you're not sure if what you're buying online is what you're going to get. And I'll try to fix that if I can. But there's a lot of computer work that is on the docket for today. So I don't know. Anyway, I think that was the stuff I wanted to mention. There's always like, we're still having a sale. Today is the last day of our sale. Just in case I lose track of that at the end of the episode. Today is the last day of you get to take advantage of the shop's 4th birthday and use shop birthday when you check out for 20% off. We may have other pop-up sales this month, but we don't know when, and we don't know if they'll be 20%. They could be more. You could wait just in case we have a sale that is more than 20%, but what you want might be gone. So not to, you know, threaten you or anything. But yeah. So, or come by the shop and say, happy birthday to the shop and give me the discount, because otherwise we might forget. Yeah. Okay. So lots of questions.
We have 3 questions.
Where do you want to start?
Do you want to start with the one that was a comment?
Yes.
Because that's the oldest theoretically.
That's the one we received first. It was probably a comment on last Thursday's, and rather than write a really long typed thing, I responded. I think I responded to her that we could talk
We'll
about
put
it
it
this
on
week.
the docket for this week.
That's what I said. Okay. Because I sent her a screenshot so we wouldn't forget it and lose it. All right, what we got?
Says, hey, Becky and Liz,
Mhm.
can I ask how you choose your projects and yarns? Do you choose a yarn first and think about what pattern will work with this yarn? I get a bit overwhelmed with choosing what to make and randomly buy yarn without a proper plan for the yarn, or download a pattern and then choose the yarn. Is there a magic key to this knitter's dilemma, or should I just surrender to it all? Like buy the yarn, download the patterns. I hope I live to 110 years old to finish them all.
Practice that, did you?
Nope.
I'm sorry. I'm poking fun at Liz. I shouldn't do that. It's not nice.
I don't practice reading the emails.
We
Why
don't
would
do
I
it
do
yet.
that? That's like show notes.
We're sorry. We apologize if that's not the way you wanted it read.
Sorry.
But the dilemma of picking
Which came first,
which
the yarn or the pattern?
I like that. It's a chicken or egg dilemma, right? And raise your hand out there in the YouTube universe if you've ever had this problem.
Said no knitter or crocheter.
Put your hand
ever.
up. You've had this problem. I'm kidding.
I
No,
buy
she
sweater
has.
quantities of yarn.
Maybe
No.
she doesn't have this problem.
No, I do.
No,
have this problem.
I don't think there's a magic solution, unfortunately, or a magic key or a magic. I do both of those things that you were just saying. That as the shop owner, I will look around and be like, especially if we get a new yarn in, I'll say, okay, I need to make something out of this, which is the same as someone coming in saying, ooh, this is lovely. What can I make out of it? And I'm also scouring Ravelry, not as often as I'd like, but I mean, some of our knitters and crocheters come in and say, oh, did you see the new pattern on Ravelry? And I haven't had time. But on occasion, scrolling through Instagram, I follow some designers there. I'm sure if I was on Pinterest, I would be making 10 times more things than I am and never finishing anything, because I would come across all the lovelies, right? So a pattern will catch my attention and I'll go, I need to make this out of something at the shop. And then for me as the shop owner, I have the dilemma of what first draws my attention of, ooh, it would be gorgeous in fill in the blank. Or I have too many samples in that, so I have to find something else to make it out of, which sometimes works out quite well. I must say, sometimes I discover that something I hadn't thought of knitting a project in is lovely in that yarn. So I don't know if we have a magic
No, with mine,
answer to that. Go ahead.
When the yarn comes in, work in a yarn shop. When the yarn comes in, it's like, ooh, I must have that yarn.
And this is an appropriate motion, but yes, I must
Yeah,
have that.
gotta have
yarn.
it. And
I'm just reminded of the musical. If you don't know the musical Chicago, this makes no sense. But there's a line in Chicago is I loves you, honey, I loves you. Sorry, yarn. Not that yarn. Okay, go ahead.
So I gotta have it. Like right now, gotta have it. And then I
Yes.
buy it, and I have no clue what to do with it. And then sometimes I find a pattern that I'm like, ooh, like this one.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I bought this colorway. It was the Glasgow colorway. And I was like, have to have it. And then I found the pattern later and I was like,
Ooh, it can be used for
I
that.
can mix all the colors and, sometimes that works. And sometimes I wind up with a drawer full of yarn.
And I think most knitters and crocheters can probably find a happy balance with all of that. It's know your addictions. Know if just I have to have it leads to this mountain that you don't know what to do with, then that's a personal preference at that point of, is that okay for you or does that really bother you? Because for some people, they collect yarn. I have a shirt that says buying yarn and using it are two separate hobbies. And for some people, like, and Carol, shout out to Carol, she's curated an extensive yarn collection, right? It's kind of a version of an I don't care bar. It's like, where's your really bothers me bar? Is it, where on the gauge here, is it like having all this yarn and not knowing what to do with it is going to drive me mad? Or is it, I just love to look at my yarn every day and know that I have this wonderful yarn collection?
I also have a different problem since I reinvest my paycheck. I wind up with a lot of yarn.
It's an unspoken contract. Yeah.
You can only have so many
there's-
gadgets, and then
I know. And then there's she feels bad for me because we had a slow sales day, so she buys something. And sometimes there's a purpose.
One
and
can
sometimes there's not.
always use yarn. It's a post-apocalyptic life thing.
I mean, we tell people, if you don't use it all and it looks like we can put it back on our shelves, and you haven't, touched it, we'll take it back for shop credit. And some people go, but why would I do that?
It's like abandoning your children.
But we're like the animal rescue service that takes very good care of those babies if they have to come back. So,
Yes,
but yeah.
No.
We rehome things, but I get it. Okay. However, I would experiment with that. It's like, what draws you to yarn? Is it knowing what you want to make out of it, or is it just, ooh, that's pretty, let me figure it out? It really is a chicken or egg thing. I feel like it's, which different people are going to have different answers to, because it's the same thing as being a process versus product knitter. And most people will find themselves somewhere on the spectrum. We'll say, I'm somewhere in between. I love the process, but I also want to get stuff done. Some people will say, I love just buying yarn because it's there and it's pretty and finding something out. And then there's days when I have a project and I need to find yarn for it. Because we have people who walk up to the shop who have a pattern in their hands and it's like, ooh, fun. Okay, let's do this. And then we have people who walk up and say, more people now are floating around and saying, I just want to browse and I just want to squish the yarn. And we just hand sanitize more and let them do that. And they'll go, ooh, this has to come home with me, and if they're in the shop, I'm sorry, what?
I was going to say, which kind of leads into our next project. Or
let me just say, if you're in the shop and you say, ooh, this is calling me, what can I make out of this? We will do our best to suggest things, but we are not a magic box and we are not mind readers. And we can suggest 6 million things that are all here. We don't have quite 6 million, but close. And you will poo-poo every single one of them. And then you will have to do your own legwork. I'm sorry. We can only do so much, but we love trying. We really do. It's just, we're not always going to succeed with everybody. So, because we're not you. And why would you want us to be? What's the next? Apparently there was a segue that I might have overrun.
No, it goes into our next question.
I like the buttons on your dress, by the way.
Thank you.
So, just so you know, I'm not like staring at the buttons.
The buttons.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What?
Second question, Dear Becky and Liz, I wonder if you know.
Why is no one calling you Lizzy?
I don't know. And they're putting 2 Z's on it. It's kind of funny.
Liz instead of the Y.
I'm okay with that.
Becky and Lizzy, go ahead.
I wonder if you know what your oldest whips, crochet and or knit are, and if you can show them. We didn't bring ours in.
I didn't think about that.
Do you know why you fell in love with them or why you fell out of love? How do you guys decide if you should pick them back up or it may be frogging time? Wondering if Liz has gone down from the 100 works in progress mark, or is it higher now?
Oh, it's got to be higher now.
Hugs, the nostalgic stitcher.
Okay, so some lingo to explain here, which most people may know and a lot of people may not. Frogging, let's go backwards. Frogging is not coughing, sorry. Frogging is when you rip something out, like you take it off the needles or take the hook out and you rip it. Get the joke? Knitters got jokes. Knitters and crocheters, we think we're funny. Rip it. Okay, ribbit. Frog. Okay. And whips and chains excite me. No, it's not that one. WIP, work in progress. And some people might say, well, duh. And other people will say, what? I've never heard of that before. So it all depends on what lingo you've been exposed to.
Some people would call them UFOs,
unfinished objects. Yes. See, okay. And here's all these abbreviations and acronyms and fun things. Because you can have a work in progress. And the unfinished object is something that, like, I've considered a work in progress. I think she's at, let me calm down for a second.
Deep breath.
Okay, I think she's really addressing UFOs, unfinished objects, because a work in progress, well, you know, Venn diagram of overlap, right? Unfinished objects are works in progress, but not all works in progress are unfinished objects, right?
True.
Is that what I think?
Yes.
That's what I'm going for. Is but the oldest ones are probably ones we haven't touched in such a long time. Like I when I say work in progress, I think of something I've touched recently, but it's just taking forever. And for works in progress that we would now classify as UFOs, as unfinished objects, I think we've got tons. Like I was saying to Liz before we turned the camera on, I don't even know what's my oldest. I tried to think
take
about
some
that.
Guesses.
Yeah.
But
I didn't do the research on that because I don't have time and energy.
I know I frogged one UFO to make the ranunculus, but that was 2 years ago.
Well, and how funny is that? My ranunculus is a UFO that I just gave up on finally, that I'd gotten this much knitting done on. That's really funny. Ranunculi, like where works in progress go to die and be reborn, like the phoenix rising from the flame. Make a ranunculus if you don't know if you haven't finished it. Half of my works in progress that I'm just hemming and hawing about, Liz just binds off and we call it a shop sample.
I've done 3.
Half, but it feels like if it's going to be,
I threaten it all the time.
If it's going to be finished and not ripped out, she's just gonna you know. For showing them off, I hadn't realized, okay, this guy is finished. Hello, Mr. White Squirrel. Yes, Brevard. Ask questions later. I'm uncovering a work in progress that I really want to finish. Like the whole showing them off, I forgot that part existed. So I did too. I can actually pull a few things out that are not finished and try to remember how long it's been on the needles. That could be fun. But I also might only do a couple right now. And if we have time at the end, go back because we have a third question.
For me, like I chase butterflies literally and figuratively with all the papillons that I have going. But sometimes it's because it gets hot in the summer. I just stick something down and then completely forget about it because I'm chasing other things.
I want to say the first couple of sweaters that you started, you didn't finish.
Oh,
they're still at your house somewhere.
The
foop, foop. That makes sense. It's a thing with sleeves that you can go like, but
it's one of those. Yes.
Foop, foop.
Yeah. Foop, foop, foop sweaters. And then I have the, pieced sweater that we built the pattern for.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of purling in that.
Because it's knit flat.
I was like, oh, I'll knit a proper sweater.
And you got to design it from, it was like a choose your own adventure and wasn't that fun? And then she started it.
And there's a lot of purling. Then I discovered top down sweaters and I have actually quite a few of those on needles because they're sleeves. And that's one of your sweaters. This
is the Brighton. When we got in the coastline yarn, I want to say like last year, maybe actually the year before. I feel like we invested in this yarn, and it's wonderful
after
yarn.
The shop we moved over here.
It was after we moved, but it was before the world fell apart because I think a rep actually showed me this yarn.
Yep.
and we haven't had a rep in since the world fell apart. And my dad had such issues with me calling it that. He's like, the world just changed. I said, Dad, we have our phrases we use and our jokes, and just no.
It's like the
Don't try to
before
get
time.
me, don't try to get me to use more positive language, Dad. This is my thing. So we got this in, and I was like, I'm gonna make the top that's in the pattern book, and yay. And this is how far I've gotten. This is the fun.
There's been a couple of times
It's a
though that you
beautiful-
pulled it out and been like, I'm gonna knit on this for a few minutes.
And that's all it got, was a few minutes. And it's not that I've fallen out of love with it. It's just, I would say a lot of my works in progress that maybe become UFOs and stall out, it's my interest focused somewhere else. It's not that it's a horrible pattern. It's just I get chasing butterflies, distracted. Sometimes I get bored. This one's not boring, but it's a little monotonous. And I say it's always good to have a monotonous project and a really intricate project at least going side by side, so you can switch off. I just have so many, it's hard to get back to all of my more monotonous projects. But for beginning knitters and crocheters, monotony is sometimes just enough. It's just, if you're getting bored, throw something else in there to kind of change it up a little bit. So this you need to do a front and a back and sleeves, at least little short sleeves. And I just haven't gotten there yet. And eventually I do want to, because this is such a lovely sample to show how squishy the Jody Long coastline is. It is fantastic.
If it's still in that shape in 6 more months, it might get finished.
I might have to hide it then, because I do really want to finish it. It's also, it's a drop sleeve sweater, and which, you know, means the body comes out and it's big and loose, and that's not my personal favorite. I know I've seen comments from people that their favorite type of sweater is the drop sleeve sweater, and it could be like psychologically way in the back of my head, it's not my favorite style of sweater, so that does make it harder to finish. But I should have examples of that in the shop. So, you know, I was just showing this off to show the yarn off. Oh, and this is Lorna's laces. That's so sad. This is an unfinished Tunisian crochet. I don't even know where the hook is anymore.
Theoretically, it's crochet, so it doesn't count. It counts, but
In
you can pull
Liz's
your
mind.
hook out so it's not stuck on needles.
It doesn't count in Liz's imaginational state of works in progress, but it's still a UFO.
It is still
does
a UFO.
count. Crochet still counts as UFOs, unfinished objects.
I just don't count them.
Yeah, it's not, it hasn't taken up a needle that she can't use somewhere else. So this is the Venezia or Venetia. I think it's the Venetia. There's so many different shawls with different spellings by Joji Locatelli. And it's a really neat construction because it starts at the edge and it gets wider. It's a narrow wrap. It gets wider, and when it hits a certain number of stitches, then you start decreasing again. So you're going to have this long, narrow wrap. And it was my way to show what the Wasco Coton, which 100% cotton fingering weight looks like. And there's a couple things going on with this for me. One is it's a fun knit, but again, I might have got a little bored with it. It's in timeout until I can get excited by it again, but this has been in timeout for quite some time. And it's been at the shop, so it's not close by when I need something new for a morning meditation. So that's another thing. And it's a neat pattern, but I feel like the yarn might be too busy for the pattern. Like you don't really see, there's lace work on the sides and there's stuff in the center. But the variegated yarn is so busy. I feel like a simpler knit for this yarn. I'm always like simple knit, busy yarn, complicated knit with a simple yarn. And I might have done complicated here, which goes back to the first question about, I think what happened is when this yarn came in, the shawl was released. It was a new shawl pattern at that time. And I went, ooh, let's, new yarn, new shawl pattern, ooh. And maybe I should have given it some more thought. So I know people who've made this and finished it with like Daydream Dye Works, One Skein Project. I think this was intended to be. And I want to say shout out to Candy. She made it with Dancing Bees and it was beautiful. It was still a busy yarn, but it was a little more subtle. And I think I have to find something else to do the cotton with. This should probably be frogged. Let's be honest. I got this far in it, and I want to say it's been at least a year.
I
if
could
not
probably
longer.
just bind it off and we could hang it up to show what it does.
Yeah, but then I won't have enough yarn to make something else with.
The struggle is real.
The struggle is so real, but like I have time, let's be honest. So there's a couple of things to show off. There's my confetti scarf is another one if we have time, but let's see if we can do the other stuff. There's older stuff. I will say there's one crochet project that it was really complicated, ducking in and out to make it look like you were cabling. And I did a class on it. I hadn't even finished it before the class. I think I had like one person take it. And it's so complicated. I don't know if anyone else is going to do it. And the yarn, like it was a double whammy of, I don't know if anyone else is like, it's doable, but I don't know if I'm going to teach the class again. The yarn is one that we're not, it was the Camello Merino. And I don't know if we're going to restock that or put it on display very much anymore. So is this triple whammy? I think the color might've been discontinued. So it was like, why bother? I mean, I could, if I was passionate about it and really loved it, but there wasn't enough of the elements all coming together to make me happy. And at some point, every once in a while, I do make decisions based on what's going to make me happy. 90% of the time, I'm making a decision based on what's good for the health of the shop.
So,
but I'm not always right.
How do you decide if it's time to pick them back up or frogging? I was just thinking some of the patterns that I pick, like I know I can do lace, I can do complicated things, but I have to sit quietly to go through a lace chart. Like I can't focus on TV and do a lace chart necessarily well.
I can't focus during filming and do anything else.
Yeah.
But
but so because I have to, follow the grid, whatever. Same with like the fillet crochet, the fillet crochet.
Well, and there's so much that we do that is on camera or with an audience, like at knit night with company. And like I can't do complicated stuff during knit night or else I'm just
so it's if I have an afternoon that I can, or an evening that nothing is going on, that I can go sit in my room all by myself.
When do we have that anymore?
We don't, because I told a girlfriend the other night, it was like, hey, you could come and see me. And I'm like, but it's almost 9 and there's a plague. So it's like, no, but it's 9 o'clock and I'm in bed between 8:30 and 9. It used to be between 9:30 and 10. And now it's like shifted.
Because I make her come in early in the morning.
I'm like, she was like, wow, that's early. And I'm like, I'm old and we're working all the time. And we're tired. And life is just busy enough that I don't necessarily have the focus in the evenings sometimes. So sometimes I do it on Mondays.
But we work in a yarn shop. We just sit around and knit all day, Liz. I have so many things I have to do when we get off the camera here that have nothing to do with working on a sample. Oh my gosh.
Yesterday and Wednesday, I've been working Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to get around with the first row of this color, or the latest color that I'm putting, and I'm still not all the way to the beginning yet because we've been just busy enough.
And people are saying on my morning meditation, like I'm doing a crochet along, that I'm busting through, and they're like, wow, you're going so fast. And it's because I'm dropping a lot of my other projects to keep up with the crochet along. And once I'm up to speed with it, then I can stop and do some other things. But I really only knit when I go home from work. Like sometimes lately we've had some time to sit and knit here at the shop, usually outside if the weather's nice enough, because it's just hard to like drop stuff and run to the door and assist people. And if we even have the moment to do it.
When we started doing Saturdays, we put our yarn out on the table and we sit outside and we knit.
We greet people. We knit. We go like this and
well, we'll sit down to knit, and sometimes we're just busy enough that we'll pick it up and then have to put it right back down because
I'll get
somebody
a
will
couple
walk up.
stitches done.
Yeah.
So again, anything complicated,
you can't
really do that because you have to focus, but you have to be ready to greet people. But then you have to, when you sit back down, know where the heck you were. Yeah. No.
So it's we actually knit, but it's knit or crochet, but it's like 5 stitches. for Saturday.
Yeah. And now that we're open, I can't remember, or I guess we functioned in the shop differently before the world fell apart, because we're looking back at like past years, and we also did half days on Sunday. Like when life was old and normal, we would
before time.
in the before time. Ooh. We only had one day off a week.
Yeah.
Because Sunday especially, I'm singing with my church choir and running over here and opening up the shop for a half day on Sunday. We had Monday off, and I think I actually took it off.
Mm-hmm. Because you wrote your newsletter on Tuesday.
I did. I wrote my newsletter while I was at the shop on Tuesday and just let life happen around me, and I can't do that anymore. So we are here 5 days a week. Sunday and Monday is off in terms of people's cognizance of the shop, because they can't come shop. So we're closed Sunday and Monday. But if maybe I give myself Sunday off, and Monday I'm writing my newsletter, I'm filming for my tips and tricks channel. That honestly, those two things tend to take up and I'm also running errands like grocery store, bank, that takes up my whole Monday. It's like, I don't really. And so it's like, wait, I want to go to the bookstore and get some Brene Brown books. I don't know when I'm going to do that. Maybe on Monday. Or I have friends who want to FaceTime or hang out, in controlled circumstances. And I'm just like, I'm tired.
What time do you go to bed? Between 8:30 and 9. Sometimes 9 and 10, but
I'm more in the 9 to 10 window, but yes, sometimes there's times when I'm just like,
our windows for going to bed have shifted this earlier than later.
But the problem with that means that then
we're old.
No, it's that my window of me time, which really is knit and crochet time, but my window of me time when I get home from work is shrinking. Yeah. Like if it's that's only on Wednesdays and Thursdays, because I love my time with my knitters and crocheters on Zoom. Don't get me wrong. The sit and stitch is wonderful on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but the whole idea of me time is like almost non-existent. But that's life, I suppose. I don't even know. And then throw in cooking, which I guess is me time, but sometimes doesn't feel like me time.
We have a last part of this email.
I know. Oh, that email? I thought we were moving on to the.
We're not there yet. It was wondering if Liz has gone down from 100 works in progress, or is it higher now? I answered
that while you were reading it, but go ahead.
About 130. No, it's not ever going down.
Are you counting? Have you counted? Or are we guessing?
It's probably 130, if not more. Like,
are they under your floor closet, or where do they end up?
They're kind of all over the house. There's a pile of them next to the couch. There's a bunch in Bernie's room area.
Mine are spreading. There's like, there's a whole row of piles on the floor behind my filming station by the railing up in the loft. And there's stuff from the shop that I brought home. There's old works in progress, some of which might even predate the shop, that are over in the other corner of the loft crafting area. That moved, and so I know where they are. Since I moved houses, I know where they are, but they still haven't been touched. And there's a couple downstairs to have options when I'm sitting in front of the TV, and half the time the cat just sits on those. So, and then I have 2 or 3 in the corners of the shop here. There used to be a whole
2 or 3. That's 2 or 3 bags of projects.
But some of them only have one project in them. So. There used to be a few baskets back in the pit of despair, and I took those home. And I still remember when I took those home, he who shall not be named said, "Are you moving out?" Because they were on the porch. And I said, "No, I'm bringing stuff home." And now I'm wondering if he was kind of hoping I was moving out. I digress. Yes.
Are you ready for our last?
I had my moment for now. Yes.
Next email. Are we good?
It's called Be Honest, People. Okay. Yes. What?
Are we good? Next
no,
email?
But we should move on, because this is not that type of show. Go ahead.
Dear Becky and Lizzy, when blocking, how do I know which tool to use? There are pins, T-pins, blockers, etc. How do I know which one to choose for which project? Unpinned in North Carolina.
Okay, I gotta go get some props, but what do you think, Liz Vance?
I'm going to say the easiest answer is whatever you have.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Some people, like, I have a giant pin cushion for sewing, and a lot of times I'll use those pins instead of T-pins because I don't have a lot of T-pins at the house.
Where are the T-pins?
They're hanging over there somewhere, or they might be with the Mindful collection.
Okay, I can't find them. Keep going, Liz.
Anyway, if my like, I have gradually increased the amount of knit blockers that I own. So if I need a straight edge, I'll just stick knit blockers all the way. But if you don't have knit blockers, it really does. It's whatever you have. Like,
okay, I was looking right past them.
Oh, so ultimately, it's whatever you have. But some things make life easier, like the knit blockers really make life easier for combining sets of pins. Ta-da. Rebecca's bringing more and more.
How did my devious plan of making you talk more on camera work? I really was looking right past them. I think my brain isn't functioning. So we have these other things in the shop, and they're probably not online. If you want something other than the knit blockers, because we love them so much, you probably have to contact the shop. For the longest time, like, I think I heard Liz say this. I wasn't focusing, so I'm repeating Liz probably. I really love the knit blockers for straight stuff, like sides of sweaters, tops of shawls, because it makes a cleaner line. They're fancier.
It takes a bunch of straight pins and puts them into one.
Oh, now I want that to be the thumbnail, but anyway, like when I was a newbie knitter, I used quilting pins because I had them for other purposes, or, you know, I thought something little, which won't leave much of a mark, should be better. So we have the round head pins and the flower pins. We do sell those. I was a little afraid of T-pins, and we've got different sizes of T-pins, and I don't know why. I use T-pins a lot actually now. Then when I was first knitting, because I was worried it would leave big holes in my knitting, but knitting is pretty open work anyway.
I think the perk of a T-pin versus the perk of like a quilting pin is you have a bigger head to hold and manipulate, like because it's got that T-bar at the top.
Yeah,
like it's easier to hold it and place it.
Well, and here's the interesting thing is that these pins will say they are rust proof, and I think these I've had rust on me more with being damp and water than these. I don't know, these say they're nickel plated. So and there are thinner and thicker ones of these. When as often as I can, I use those. I know this is a fancier, more expensive set. I'm really not trying to upsell people, but like the rule of thumb, if you only have pins, like again, as Liz said, use what you have. If you can afford to upgrade, great, but use what you have available. The rule of thumb with T-pins is you want to put them about every inch. And sometimes
go for sewing straight pins as well.
Yeah, for single pins, about an inch apart. Sometimes even putting them an inch apart, you're still going to have some buckling between them, depending on how aggressively you're blocking and pulling. And so you might need them more than every inch apart. That's where these guys are really helpful, because I would say
a quarter of an inch apart.
They're about, or half inch. Because isn't that an inch right there? Here, where's it? I'm wearing one. Yeah, they're a little more. They're like quarter 3/8. Yeah, 3/8 of an inch apart, these little prongs. So they're spaced better than just an inch apart. I will put these guys about an inch apart when I'm really, like, instead of putting only like 4 along an edge, I will put them not right next to each other. I'll give a little space between them so I can maximize their usage. Or sometimes I'll space them out. I might put one in the mid, like a blocker in the middle, a block on the ends, and I'll start spacing them out in between. And if there are gaps where it's starting to buckle a little, I'll use a T-pin. I have shawls that have a top edge that's straight, and then they have the picot edge along the bottom. And I'll use the T-pin, I'll use the blockers, excuse me, along the top to make that straight. And I will use T-pins. I tried on the I have a really silly picture online because I only have so many T-pins at my house. And I have about 3 sets of those blockers. I was blocking the storm shawl, and I put my blockers along the top, the combs basically. And then I started using the little ones to pull on all the picots, and it was like, and it's those are too big. I mean, you can use them for little picot edges like this. These are really convenient to just be like ding, 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 ding on little things you want to pull and shape rather than big straight angles. It's kind of hard to get the picot shaping when you're using the edge of one of those, but it's doable. If that's all you have, doesn't mean you can't pull on little picot edges. The missing thing from this conversation, which I don't actually use very much, are blocking wires. And those you can shape, you can do picot edges. You run your wire through the edge of all the little picots, little thin itty bitty wire. You hit the edge of every little picot, and picot edges tend to have a little hole in the center, so you can run that through, and then you can pull and shape the whole blocking wire and then pin that. You pin that with more likely like big strong T-pins, but that can help you because it'll help
even out the whole edge.
I should use blocking wires if I want like a nice crescent shape to my shawl, because instead of like finagling with these little T-pins, and that's what I do is I pull the center down, and then I'll pull the edges, and then I'll tinker. I'll be like, okay, this one's in too much. Let me pull this one out. And let me pull this one. And I'll try to get that nice bow shape. But a blocking wire, you could, I think she's going for the blocking wires. I forget where they are, but there's a set of them, and you can, if you thread it through the edge, and if you don't have picot edges, you can every few stitches thread it through the edge, and then you can just pull that, and you get a nice crescent shape without having to finagle everything. But
it's what I'm gonna have to do with this. Like,
okay,
run the wires through the end, and
the talking and doing things at the same time doesn't always work.
These are the lace ones.
Woo! Oh my gosh, these are so fun. Sorry, I'm like, I might be whacking Liz in the face with this. So you can get them longer than this. This is the size that, like, look, just one of them, you almost can't even see it. They can be engineered longer than this, but then it's hard for us to get them in at the shop and send them to you. So you'll have to look for those online. But can I give you that? But you can see how if this is run through the whole edge of your shawl, I can put it out here. You can't even see it. Look at that. But you can get a nice shape that looks like is more even than having to pull on each individual one and tinker and tinker and tinker. And see how thin these are? Like, we have them in a couple different thicknesses. I like the lace set because it just gives you this, literally the flexibility to shape things and maybe pull in different directions. But you can run this through the edge of a sweater. You just want to catch like every few stitches along the edge, and you can use this instead of having to use a million pins or a million blockers.
And a lot of people have their preferred method, and it's like with anything in knitting and crochet, people will have their preferred method and think that everybody needs to use their method,
because their method is what works. Like, I should be more well versed with blocking wires, and I'm not. Not that I get a huge amount of satisfaction out of pulling the little pins and doing all that. There's something a little bit soothing about that to me. When I'm done pinning it, I will look back and go, it could be better. And maybe if I use the blocking wires, it would be better, but that's where I'm at my house. So, and I have no idea what the cat would do with my blocking wires. So, there's always that. But, yeah, I think that's a good coverage
hit
of
on
these
everything.
questions. If you have more questions, if this led to more questions, let us know. Write us a letter, send us an email. We haven't gotten that many physical letters lately, and they are fun. So if you want to write us a letter that we will cherish forever, I mean, we cherish the emails anyway in Liz's inbox forever.
Mhm.
But if we have a whole basket that we keep them in, you will write to Dear Becky and Lizzy, Sun Dragon Art and Fiber, 35 South Broad Street, Brevard, North Carolina, 28712.
Or email liz@sundragonartandfiber.com.
There you go. We aren't filming anymore this week unless we experiment with my phone, which I don't know if we're gonna have time to. It's life. So join us for knit night tomorrow night. It's from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Zoom. We are still in a position where we don't yet feel comfortable doing stuff outside, and sometimes Fridays outside of our shop are crazy anyway, even if we did feel comfortable. So join us on Zoom. Shop phone number
828-877-3550.
that should be in the description below. Remember, today is the last day of our 20% off. Take advantage of the shop's birthday sale. Shop birthday without spaces is what you put in the code checkout online. Words are failing me. Or come into the shop and say, I want to wish the shop a happy birthday, and use their discount. Show me the yarn. You know, like, let me shop. And we'll, as long as the shop isn't too full and you're willing to wear a mask, we are happy to have you do that. And I feel like for the next 3 or 4 days, it's going to be potentially stormy in the afternoons. So come when you can. Come early if you can, because the weather will be better.
For anybody planning to come to Western North Carolina next week, it's supposed to be cold and rainy all week. So Fred is supposed to be coming.
Oh,
up
I
the
was
side
wondering
of-
if Fred was going to hit us
this weekend.
Yeah, storm. Okay.
Yeah.
I saw this thing on the news today about it going up by Florida, and I went,
Yeah, the cone of uncertainty has it over us.
Wow.
It's like coming up Florida, grab us.
Right. Okay. So cold and rainy, plan ahead, layers, rain gear.
By
mask.
cold, we mean like 70s. I think there's Sunday or Monday is supposed to be 73.
That's not cold.
Well, we
That's
are
comfortable.
85 today.
I know it's colder. Cold is like 40s, 30s.
But for people coming from like 100-degree weather, 73 can be cold.
Let's debate this on camera.
Sure.
All right. We need to go open the shop. We love you and miss you. And other than knit night, there's not a lot going on other than us being just busy enough at the shop until we film again on Tuesday. So join us on Tuesday. But subscribe if you haven't already. We are slowly ticking up in our subscription numbers, which is great.
We were up another number today.
Oh, person, thank you for subscribing.
Subscribe, ring the bell, comment, all that fun stuff.
If you feel so inclined to go beyond just subscribing to us, which is not a just, it's a wonderful thing. On YouTube, we do have a Patreon account. You can become a patron and get your name in the credits for your support. Patreon.com/sundragon. And we start as low as $3 a month, and as just above that, $5 a month. Once you're with us for 3 months, you start getting swag. You get a swag thing from us, and the higher you go, the more fun swag there is, or benefits or something. So consider that. Consider checking out my tips and tricks channel, although that's doing fine on its own, but there's sometimes helpful stuff there for you. So send us more things to talk about. Comment on what's going on here. I'm still waiting to see if anyone cares for kits. Would you want a kit if it's just, hey, make it out of 2 skeins of this color? Or can you do that on your own? Let me know. What are your thoughts? All right. Yeah, I think that's all.
That's it.
That's not a good wrap up, but whatever. Have a good
Stay
weekend.
safe. We miss you. We love you. Bye.
Bye.